Thank you, I appreciate it. How's the mic level? Is that okay? More? Can you hear me fine? In the back, we're good. Excellent. All right, well, let me start the timer. We got a lot to cover. I appreciate you being here. Like you said, my name's Justin Getch, and I'm here from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm at the Church Health. It used to be the Church Health Center, now it's Church Health. But anyway, from Memphis, happy to be here and happy to share what little things I've learned, and maybe y'all will find that useful as well. A little bit about how I got to where I am now. I started as a high school math teacher. I did that for 4 years outside of Denver. Perhaps some of those pedagogy genes are still in me, so it won't feel like just content throwing at you, that there's maybe a little bit of educating going on there. We hope so. Anyway, left to go get my master's in nonprofit management from there at the University of Oregon. And then basically been raising money since then. So I've done that in Eugene, Oregon for volunteers in medicine. That was a budget of about $3.5 million. I went to Colorado Springs to Junior Achievement. That's their national headquarters. That was about $50 to $60 million budget. Went to Boston then for the Arc of Opportunity, which is a $15 million budget. And then now I'm at Church Health, where we're doing about $27 million a year. The only reason I bring that up is that fundraising changes, I think, depending on what these different organization levels are. So the things that I'm going to talk about and the things that I have learned and maybe will be useful to you or not come from different levels of experience in different organizations. So I've done a lot of these different things, and anyway, that's how we got to where we are. A quick straw poll before we sort of get started that will help me kind of gauge things. Everybody in here is interested in fundraising, at least in some level. What is the size of your fundraising team? So if you give me just a show of hands, if you got one or fewer people raising money for you, raise your hands. Absolutely. Okay, 1 or 2? Closer, okay, 3 to 5? We've got some. Anybody greater than 5? 1? No, nobody greater than 5. We're lean machines. That's how it goes. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. And then second, how many years of fundraising experience do you have? Just so I can try to sort of tweak things along the way. If this is your first year of raising money professionally, bless you. We need more. Thank you for being here. 1 to 3 years? 3 to 10? Excellent. Anybody more than 10 years? The experts. Okay, well, that is helpful. And yeah, kind of right in the middle. That's hopeful. Okay, then this is sort of where I want to get a little bit of interaction between y'all. Just turn around to somebody close to you, just a minute. I want this to be a practical hour. I'm not going to try to go through the book and how things are and everything. I'm trying to get you so that you can do stuff and take some things from this weekend and start Monday, be able to do these things. So I'm hoping that some of that you'll be able to take right away. So what I want you to do is turn and talk with somebody and just think about one fundraising issue that you're having, one big fundraising challenge I'm grappling with. Think about it for 30 seconds, talk. We're going to get in 2 minutes, then you'll give the other answer, and then some brave souls will share if that's okay. So 2 minutes, turn and talk. All right, I'm going to bring everybody back together. I know that was quick. We got a lot to cover, so we're going to try to move it along. If I get everybody's attention, if we're ready to go, sorry to interrupt. Thank you, I know. 2 minutes goes quickly. If I get everybody's attention. Thank you, I hope that was helpful. Grounding ourselves in the practicality of the everyday work that it takes to raise money. Could I get one person to share one issue that they're having? Thank you. Perfect. Expanding those fundraising efforts. Perfect. Is anybody else struggling with getting the right people in the room to help with fundraising? Anybody else? Perfect. You're not alone. That's how that goes. Perfect. Okay. We're going to keep running. Thank you. And we will keep it going. Okay. Relationships and storytelling and storytelling, demystifying the ask, and raising your budget every year. 6 months ago, this is what I applied to speak about. And then after talking with John and Elijah and some other folks, I have changed it. Sorry. Most of the reason I changed it is that Elijah is going to do kind of what I envision. So Elijah, when are you going to be talking and doing yours? Tomorrow morning, 9:30, what room? That's right in here. Perfect. If you can't get enough fundraising talk from myself, come see Elijah tomorrow morning, 9:30 in this room. Also, John and I and Elijah and Dale and Mindy, after this, are doing a panel discussion also about fundraising. So again, right next door. Yes, room number 3. Thank you. So anyway, there's more fundraising fun to be had if that's what you need. So anyway, I changed it to try to make this a fundraising 201 session. So sell me this pen 201. I don't think of myself as being an expert in any field in particular, but when you think through 10 years of fundraising experience, hopefully I've learned some things and have done something. So anyway, we're going to try to turn this for where your organizations are right now. Hopefully you can take something today that will allow you to raise the level and get from sort of a baseline fundraising level to maybe some tweaks, which is really what it takes, right? You get going on what you're doing. Some little tweaks can have a big difference. So that's what I'm hopefully will take away from you. But sell me this pen. Has anybody seen The Wolf of Wall Street? Perfect. Then you'll know a little bit of what I'm talking about. Leo plays a stockbroker, and at 2 points during the movie, he asks people who are aspiring salesmen and stock people who want to be rich and all the things, he asks them to sell this pen. So he gives them the pen, and then they say, boy, this is a great pen. It's never going to run out of ink. It's perfect. And then he says, no, takes it, gives it to the next person. Sell me this pen. He says, oh, it's beautiful. Look at how great this is. People are going to look at you and think you're an important person. No, that's not what it is. The practice is not about selling the pen. That's the misnomer from that, and that's the misnomer on fundraising too. The point that you're supposed to do when you're selling that pen is to ask questions to the person that you're selling the pen to. What are your pen needs? How do you like to use your pen? How often are you using your pen? Does it need to write upside down? What about blue? What about black? So then they're giving you the answers to the key, or the answers to the test that you're trying to give. You're listening to what they're saying, and then you're going to speak to their specific interests when you're selling that pen. I don't think that's so different from what we're doing when we're raising money. I'm sure you've had that experience where people hear that you raise money for a living, or at least that's a part of what you do, and oh my gosh, I can't imagine asking people for money. That's so hard and that's so uncomfortable, and I wouldn't do that. Sure, making the ask can be uncomfortable depending how it goes, but most of what we're doing is forming relationships. We're getting to know the person, we're getting to know the donor, and we're bridging the gap between our mission and how that matters to them, and we're just bringing two people together. And I think that is a helpful framework when we're thinking about how to increase sort of our fundraising efforts. I'm at Church Health right now. This was our budget that just ended, well, I said just ended, I guess it was June, or the end of June 2025. This is what we were doing in Memphis, which is not a city known for its affluence. It certainly feels like it has more problems than it doesn't, but we're bringing in $27 million a year so that our patients get the care that they need. And our contributions and other grants, which is what we're talking about mostly today, nearly $20 million. It's out there. This is meant to be an encouraging thing, because even if you feel like it's hard, and it is, the money's out there. And when you find the right people and you get the right folks in the room, we can make that difference. So how do we get there? Practical. Okay, I'm not the grants expert, and I know that there's somebody, Mindy, who's talking, I think tomorrow about grants, and she's an expert. There's going to be a little bit on the panel. So I'm going to briefly go over just the little things that I've learned about grants. Again, not a grant writer, but if you're a smaller shop, you can get a part-time grant writer who is raising money for other healthcare organizations. They have a great understanding of the landscape of those national grants. They can make that happen, and they can decrease the load that the reporting on those grants can have. So definitely I would encourage, especially if you're a 1 or a 2 fundraising team, a part-time grant writer can have great returns. And if you're talking about local grants, there's 2 things. One is most of those local grantors, at least in Memphis, there's about 1 administrative assistant. Get to know that person. Take them out for coffee. They're often the overlooked people, and they'll be able to help you talk about when the grant cycle is, what happened this year versus next year. They're like in some of those rooms. Befriend them. That's going to be helpful. And then also there are humans that are making the decisions on who is getting those grant dollars. So if you can find somebody on your board who knows somebody on that board, all of a sudden you can get an advocate in the room. we hem and haw over the specific wording on some of those prompts and what are they looking for, and if you have somebody in the organization who loves you, that will often make that decision. So those are my grant pieces. Thank you for your time. Okay, special events. Here's how this is going to work for the rest of the presentation. I'm going to have on one side, we've got a 101 fundraising. This is what the book tells us. This is when we start fundraising. This is sort of what we have been told and how we're starting. This is all good stuff. I'm not going to be besmirching the 101 fundraisers because that's just where we are. There's also going to be the 201 fundraising so that depending on where we are, we can see, again, tweaks and little things that we can do. Special events are tough, but that's a lot of where we get our name out in the community, right? We think that these are the big fundraising moments where it's a gala and then an auction. I think a golf tournament's the same time. The longer that you're in fundraising, or at least in my experience, these become hard to make the juice worth the squeeze. It's tough because you're spending all year finding those auction items and doing the things. I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads. We know this. It feels like we're trapped sometimes because we've been doing it for 20 years and everybody expects it and everybody wants it. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but you got to be practical and as efficient as you can if you're going to be doing those things. And the other one, the giving day on Thanksgiving, right after Thanksgiving. Again, we're all doing it, but we're getting lost in the sea of everybody who's got their triple match and and we're doing it over a week and that's just a day, and we're all getting lost in it. We have to. We're out there. But I think there's some ways that we can do it better. In lieu of, or in addition to galas or auctions, I encourage these smaller house parties. Think of these as more of the friend-raising opportunities, but what you're doing is having the board member or the major donor fill the seats. They're going to invite 20 of their friends. You as an organization then get to say, okay, I'm going to invite these 20 people who I don't always get those touches that I want. This is in their neighborhood. Maybe they want to come. It's a good way to outreach, a good way to talk to them without making the uncomfortable ask spots. At that event then, you're going to be shaking hands. There's going to be beer and wine and maybe some light hors d'oeuvres. It's going to be after work. You're making it a light and easy lift for your attendees. Go and have a little 5-minute talk, a 10-minute talk. You're not making an ask, you're just informing. What's going to happen is after you do that, people at that party are going to want to come talk to you. They're going to have ideas, they're going to know somebody, have business cards, and then prompt them that I'm going to follow up with you in 2 weeks. So I want to follow up because I want to show you more. I have more to tell you. I know that this is what you were interested in. That's a way to sort of get more people in your corner where you're not owning the burden of filling the room yourself. So I love those events. There are organizations within the community, other nonprofits that are trying to do various parties or things that are going on, but they're wanting to raise money for a cause that they believe in. Get to know those people and they will do the event for you. You show up, same thing. Do your 5-minute spiel. You be a celebrity for the next 20 minutes, but you are getting the name out there and you're getting some more prospects. The retirement home happy hour. It's great work if you can get it. Here's what happened. I came to Memphis as a planned giving major gift officer. And the first thing I did was I went and met all the folks who had said that they were leaving Church Health in their will. Got to know them all. As it turns out, a lot of them are little old ladies in the retirement home. And what happened was I started getting to know them, and then I would go and I would just kind of see all of them over the course of an afternoon, just go knock on their doors. It wasn't planned or anything. All of a sudden, they are this little group and they want to come and volunteer at Church Health. So we get them to do a meal prep. And then what they do is on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they have $2 happy hour at the retirement home. So I show up for $2. I'll get a glass of wine, a second glass of wine, and they love taking me around to their friends. And they talk about what their friend did for work before they retired. And then they're talking about Church Health. And all of a sudden, they're doing the selling for me. I get to show up, again, hand out the card. I'm building prospects. This is a planned giving thing that just has done gangbusters for us. So the retirement home happy hour. It happened. That's just the way, it happened to me. I did not plan it. And then doing the non-Thanksgiving giving day. I think that a lot of organizations are doing this type of thing, but what we started doing is realizing, I think it was 8 or 9 years ago, that there's a ton of organizations trying to do that Thanksgiving push. So our fiscal year ends, as I said earlier, June 30th every year. July 1st starts, and we're starting at 0. I don't know about you guys, but the summer's a pretty low time for fundraising. And so what we did is we started having giving day. So we're going to start about 6 weeks before the end of July, start talking about our goals, start talking about the match, start talking about what's going on. There's nothing else happening on a nonprofit giving day perspective there. So we are kind of just get this whole thing. We're asking for people to share our social media posts. This is the ask that we're able to do that. And people can do that remotely. Folks in Memphis during the summers are gone, so they're not wanting to do coffee or dinners or all those types of things, but they can post from anywhere. They're sitting on the beach. They can like the image and send all that stuff out. And then all of a sudden, the first month of our fiscal year, we've got a boost that we didn't have before. And we're not competing with other organizations for that time. So I would encourage you to think strategically about what's the time of year that you're a little bit lower, there's a little bit of a dip fundraising, or when you know there's just not other stuff happening, when there's not other events happening, whatever's going on, sort of own that yourself. If you are doing, whether it's the 101 fundraising or the 2-1 fundraising special events, here's my recommendation. Make sure people know that you're doing it. Shout it from the rooftops. This is the time to go to the chamber events, to the Rotary events, all of that sort of earned outreach that you can do. Just go and say that this is what's happening. You're often not going to get that many people come to it, but you get to say the name of your organization. You get to be in front. They start to see your face. You're going to have, all of a sudden, you get a little bit more traction year after year by doing those types of things. Getting your name out there is a big part, especially those galas and golf tournaments. So make sure that you're capitalizing. If you're going to put all that work into it, at least be out in front of as many people as you can yelling. Invite your donors to these things, especially if they're not ask events. The touches where you're not asking those major donors are super helpful. So make sure that you're getting out there and following up on an invite or sending a text or sort of whatever you're doing. The host committee, can't recommend highly enough. You want people who are able to do the work and people that you trust, that then you're just supporting them, right? A couple volunteers who are going to send out a lot of invites for you. They're going to broaden the reach of what those organizations are. So do that as much as you can. Every single one of those events has to have you or a representative from your organization standing, talking about the mission for some number of minutes. It's a missed opportunity if you're having the third-party event and they're saying that they're raising money for your organization, but you're not able to get up there and thank everybody and say, this is who I am, this is the organization I represent, and this is why the work that we're doing matters in your community. Have to be up there and say those types of things. And make sure you're getting sponsors. We at Church Health will not do an event where we need the auction to reach a certain level for us to be in the black. We're in the black before the doors open 100% of the time. If we're not doing it. Because if we can't get sponsors to sponsor the event, then it's an event problem. We need to rethink how we're doing that, whether it's the time of year, whether it's what we're doing. So the sponsors are a good barometer for whether or not this event has legs. At least that's how we view it. And this is a common mistake that I've made many times in my career. When the event's over, whatever it is, whether it's a big one or a smaller one, it ends and then you let your shoulders down and you pat your events person on the back and say, great job, we were out there, and then it's over. It's not over. You need to be following up and thanking every person that came, whether that's a text, whether it's an email, whether it's a call, whether it's a note card, sort of whatever's appropriate for that situation, you have to be thanking them. Every interaction that you and your development staff had, enter that into your database. That's going to help you get a sense of where people are on that donor life or on that donor pipeline. Are they close to an ask? Are they thinking, ooh, I like the eye clinic and this is all of a sudden getting better? Whatever they're saying, you got to get that into your donor database, and then make sure that just having a full debrief session, what went well, what didn't well, and then what are we doing forward with the people that were in the room. Special events, I think, are sort of a necessary evil because they do take a ton of work, but it's hard to find things going on. So I'm not saying special events are bad, but make sure that you're capital. If you're going to put all that work in, do it the best way and maximize it. Okay, we're cooking. Timing is going great. The donor cycle, we know as fundraisers that most of the work that we do is on the cultivation and stewardship, right? Like I said at the beginning, we're building relationships, and that's where all that work is. The solicitation, I don't know, the book says probably 10% or 8% of your time. I think at Church Health it's probably closer to 2% of the time. Because if you're doing the cultivation and stewardship well, once you get that initial ask from a donor, continuing to engage them, continuing to inform, and continuing to thank them, all of a sudden they've heard from you a lot of times over the course of the year, and you're not going to have the whole sit down and schedule a dinner and we'd love for you to support us. Like, they're in the choir. They want to continue singing your praises, and so you won't have to continue doing that if you're doing it the best version that you can. Okay, a question. For major donors, I think about every year is what you're looking for, right? You're having to raise that every year. So that's sort of how I backwards plan if I'm trying to ensure that, all right, November's when John gave last year. I'm going to try to make sure that I have these sort of bigger touches lined up, or at least a couple of things, but about annually is what I would say for a major donor. everything's case by case, and that's true. I should have said that at the top. All these things are case by case, right? I'm painting with a very broad brush. These are, over my experience, little things that have helped. But if you have specific donors who you know every 3 years, they're going to do a bigger gift rather than an individual, play that by ear. Okay, so have to. Thank you note for every single major gift that you're getting. And this slide is going to be major donor specific, but you have to have a thank you note. If they're giving online, probably a thank you email. I'm going to have the executive director send a note. I'm probably going to have one of my gift officers call and thank them, right? They're going to get 3 thank yous from me when they're making a gift of that size. Have to be doing it. We know that for a major gift for us is $2,500. Yep. We will do as much as we can, especially when we have sort of lower times. We'll ramp up our touches for $1,000 and more too. But when we look at the weekly gifts that we've gotten, we're basically at $1,000 and above, making sure that they're getting some special touch beyond the automated stuff that we have going on. In a perfect world, communication's pretty standard over the course of the year, but we're all having to ramp it up because most of those gifts come at the end of the year. So don't be afraid to do that. But as much as we can, we want it to be, I want my major donors to be hearing from me multiple times per month about what's going on and what's exciting at Church Health. We've all made calls where we're praying that they don't answer. For me, that always happens if I don't have a specific thing that I'm trying to talk to them about. I have an event coming up. I've got a patient story that I'm excited about. Those types of things. A call is better than no call, but a call without an agenda is that's a tough conversation. So make sure you have something to say when you're doing it. Again, any call's a good call, but have something to tell them. And social media, I think, again, I've been there too. It's hard to envision that you're getting a lot out of the social media when you're posting 3 or 4 times a week and each one of those posts gets like 1 like. So what is the point? What does this happen? You got to stick with it. This is what you have your interns do because they're younger, and the people that are trying to help and the college kids, they know social media more. Give them the ownership. Be like, this is yours. We want to see, show us so that by the time of the beginning to the 3 months that you're here over the course of the summer, how much did you grow our reach or whatever, let them do that, but you got to stick with it. Find a way, find the person at your organization who likes it, and give them an extra $100 a week to do that, but you have to be sticking with the social media. I think the book says 12 to 15 non-ask touches in between major gifts. We're probably closer to 20 or 25 at Church Health. A lot of that's automated, which I think is going to be the next, probably love it when that happens. A lot of that's automated. So when we send emails, right, I'm going to send a patient story about every month via email. We're going to push some of that on social media. We're going to send quarterly updates from various clinics on what our stats are and what's going well and what we're the next big thing that we're going to talk about. Every time that I send one of those emails to the, however many people I'm sending it to, that's automatically going in my database so that I know every single person who got that email. And if I'm looking at oh, he hasn't given in the last 16 months, that's unusual. How much interaction have we gotten? I can track that where I'm not having my staff have to do that manually. So as much as you can, whatever your database is, figure out a way to have that done automatically so that you can actually be focusing on the in-person interactions, right? We're people. So we want to be out there. Some contact ideas for major donors are the drinks, dinner, coffee is sort of standard. I think that's the way that it goes. I like knowing what my major donors are interested in outside of my organization. So when I know that there's a Red Cross person, I know that I see Red Cross in the news, I'm going to shoot them a text and be like, oh, I saw this is great. Did you get to see that? Great work. We love everything that's going on in Red Cross. If there are events, I'm going to invite I go to a lot of events for other organizations. I'm going to invite donors that I know are close to those specific organizations, or at least those causes matter to them. So I'd recommend that. And then attending the community events, going to the business breakfasts and the chamber lunches and the AFP lunch and learns and doing all those types of things are organic ways to see people out in the organization or outside of manufacturing that touch. And if I start knowing that somebody loves the Germantown Chamber and that's where they're there, I'm going to be going to the Germantown Chamber a couple of times over the course of the year, so then I can bump into them. Hey, how's it going? Make sure that I see them. Everything's good at Church Health. Absolutely. Love to get you over there. Whatever's going on. It's a nice, easy way to get in there. And it's, we have to be networking. We got to be out there. So those types of things I think are helpful. John.
I'm already overwhelmed. I'm thinking about the small blueprint, executive director who's wearing everything.
You can't do it all. Absolutely.
Priority
I would say having a robust electronic communication plan where that's getting entered automatically is, I think, the best thing. As much as you can, and then when you do because then when you get the giving day things and we're having those bigger, whatever we're doing electronically, the social media is going to be out there, and those are going to be, they've heard and seen a lot of stuff about you. If you're only getting to talk to them once a year, at least they're hearing from you a lot of other times. So I think that removes the onus from doing as much in-person stuff as you can. Yes, sir.
Ask a fundamental question, ask a small clinic,
Absolutely.
consider nature gift actually larger than you guys do, way smaller.
Okay.
How many of these gifts, how many of these people do you think it's reasonable for like one person?
Are you the only fundraiser?
You know, I haven't seen like, so there's like one time to do it, so I'm really
I would encourage you to be as much help as you can. First of all. Secondly, I'm trying to think how many, I'm going to backwards plan this. We probably have 1,500 people giving, 2,500 or more every year. And I have 5 of us that are managing a lot of those relationships. So 250, 300, somewhere in there is, I think, I don't know, if you put one of those per day and like you have your sort of idea and plan, you can plan what the year needs to look like for each of those and make those calls and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It depends on the person too, right? Are they? Yeah, it's tough, right? And the right person can do more and be more efficient about those things and all those types of things. Okay, other things. I'm throwing a lot at you. I know this. Not everything is going to click right away or click at all. You take what you can and kind of go from there. Other questions? Yes. Oh, I just mean like the book. Like, I do think. Say that louder. Better answer than I'll give you. Perfect. Okay, good. If we are talking about more of the prospect, right? The first time that we're asking, again, like I said before, if you're doing these things as well as you can, the beauty of making this the sort of the machine, you're not going to have to keep making these asks. Once you get somebody in the pipeline, they're going to be hearing so much from you that they're going to be ready to give when it's time again and when they can, and because they love what you're doing, right? They're not making a major gift if they don't love what you're doing. So by continuing to thank them, by continuing to inform them, in a perfect world, you're not going to have to keep making those asks, so it does become more efficient. I don't have to make more than, I don't know, 5 or 10 asks per year, something like that. I mean, it's pretty small. And I'm doing a lot more of the planned giving asking these days rather than regular. So that's because we have a good team and we got a good system and everything's working where everybody knows everything that's going on at Church Health at all times. Okay, so this is more of a pipeline. We're trying to broaden the pipeline, right? These are prospects. We can ask too quickly, we can ask too slowly. We obviously need to develop a sort of instinct for how that works. Any ask is a good ask. As long as you're not asking for $1 million from somebody who can afford 500, you're rarely going to offend somebody. So even if you're not making that perfect ask and it doesn't feel quite right, we're getting reps, right? It takes that to be able to figure out where you are at and where you can sort of tweak things so that it's going to be better. We have to make those asks, that's good. And even if you're doing it at the wrong time, it's still better than not doing it at all. We can't, when we're making an ask, sitting at the table, old school, saying, I would love for you to be a donor at $100,000 a year. If not, we could do $50,000 and that would also make it, you've already lost $50,000 by opening your mouth. So don't do that. Don't give them out. If you're working up the courage to make that ask, say it with your whole chest. Do it, and then let them talk themselves out of it and don't do it for them. I don't know if famous is the right word, but I would always have a handout the first maybe 4 or 5 years that I was raising money, so that when I would make the ask, I left that there because I know they're going to say, you give me a lot to think about, this is great, I'm going to talk to my partner and figure out how this works. I want them to continue thinking about me. So that's why I leave the particular handout that's there. As I've grown, I don't bring the handouts anymore. It feels like, I don't know if it's a comfort that I don't need it anymore, or if I think that it's going to get covered by the first thing that gets on their desk, and then it's not really doing the work that I envisioned for it anyway. But leaving handouts is a good idea. I think if you don't need it, it feels a little more personal. right? People that we're asking, we've built these relationships with, we know exactly who we're talking to and what they're interested in. So they're gonna be thinking of us anyway. The phrasing, give at a level of, become a donor of church health. Again, asks are better than not. I think there's a better way to do that, where we're bringing people together. I'm bringing your money and the interest that you have in our organization together as a partnership. So finding the way that that makes sense for you is, I think, a little bit better. What helped me a lot in my early years was developing a specific donor path for a prospect. So I know, and it helped me develop an instinct too for reading where they were. Where I am right now is if I have a new donor that was introduced to me by a board member or whatever, they're interested, I'm gonna get to know them a little bit, and then I'm gonna try to get them to come for a tour. When they come for a tour, that's the gold, right? Getting to show them everything that's happening at Church Health is a joy. I love getting to share and brag about everything that we're doing. Over the course of that, I'm hearing and sussing out sort of where they are interested or not interested in the various programs, because what I'm gonna do is probably come back to them after that. I'm gonna say, this was a great tour. In 2 months, I'm gonna get back to you and let's talk about sort of how we can get you involved. Like, I'm priming them for what that's gonna look like, and then figure out exactly what I'm gonna be asking them for. If while they're on that tour, or when I'm having that follow-up, if I can tell it's not quite right or I'm not there, I'm gonna bail and I'm gonna wait and push that further. But because I'm comfortable in the path that I've laid out for them, I'm not worried that, oh, if I don't ask them at the end of this tour, then I'm not gonna be able to do it, so I have to force it. I don't feel a need to do that because I've got sort of the pathway there. Figure out what works for your team and your organization, and you'll start to get more comfortable with when is the right time and how much is the right amount of money and who's the right person to be asking. Something that I thought early too is that I'm the development director and I gotta be asking, and because that's my job. The executive director is often a better person to do. You can tee them up and you're gonna be there, but you're gonna say, this is what I think we ought to ask them for, let's get together and do this. Sometimes a board member is the right person. Sometimes a physician is the right person because they're walking in different circles. So figure out who the right person to ask is, and coach them up, and you're going to be there and you're going to be doing those things. But it's not about the badge of honor, which I think I've always, the ego things that we're all trying to deal with. We want the money. It's about the bottom line, and so it doesn't matter who does it. So figure out who that right person is. Ask for a number. It's not a broad thing. This is another thing that the book says for sure. The Lilly book. I'm going to research and see where my major donor prospects, what level they're giving other organizations. I'm going to try to figure out which one of my board members or other donors that I'm close with, see who knows them. And I'm going to ask them straight up. I'm going to say, I need to have an open conversation with you. What's the level that I could do that's not going to be offensive? I'd love to get them at a $10,000 level. Is that crazy? Can I go more? Can we go less? Give me some feedback on what that looks like. I also wouldn't be afraid if you want to have a printout, if you really don't know, right? Sometimes that happens. You meet somebody, they're coming in, you bring them in for a tour, and there's just not that much information out there. Maybe your iGive doesn't have enough to be able to give you a thing. Have a sheet that says, listen, for $200, that covers a vaccination. For $500, that covers 2 patient visits. For $1,000, and then you can hand that to them when you're making the ask and say, I want for you to be a part of this. Where do you see yourself fitting in? Because we would love for you to be a part of this. That's a way to get out of asking for an offensive amount of money or leaving a bunch of money on the table. Because you don't want to do that either. You don't want to offend anybody, but if I got somebody who could be giving $100,000 a year and I ask them for $2,500, it's going to be tough when they say yes to $2,500 to boost them up to what their sort of levels are. So let them choose. This is a hard one. I have a head start because I was a teacher. When you put the number on the table, you have to stop talking. I said it a little bit before, you got to be comfortable in that silence. When I was teaching and I said, who wants to do this derivative for me? How many hands shot up in the air? None of them. But I would sit there until somebody would say, fine, I'll come up and do that. Same thing. We would love for you to be a part of Church Health, and I'm envisioning you coming in at $100,000 for the next 3 years. They'll have to say it. I don't think it's the first person to speak loses situation, but I'm going to let them guide it after that because I put the ball in their court. If they're not going to give $100,000, then they're already not going to give $100,000. Then it's already over. If they're going to, or if it's close, then they'll be like, okay, let me think about it, let me get back or whatever. But they're going to have to do that. I'm not going to give them that out. And again, that language, become a partner, join us. we're in this together. Those types of things, I think, make a big difference. At least I've switched some of how I used to ask earlier in my career, and things are going better now. So you do the judge. Okay, a quick practice. We're going to do another, let's go 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes. Turn to somebody, ask them for a big number. Do exactly what I just talked about. Ask, use that partnership language. Be specific about the particular program because we know them, right? We've been together for 3 years. What is the thing? Let them sit in the silence and then, turn around and do it the same way. So 3 minutes, go ahead. Oh, they're coming in. I was going to say there's 2 seats up here, but there's 2 seats up here if you're looking. All right, let's regather here. We've got another 15 minutes or so. I've got some more excellent information that I know you're going to want to hear. Thank you. Is that hard? Asking, I know it's sort of a little bit of an exercise. Anybody tried the silence? Whew, that'll make you feel alive, huh? That's tough. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. Okay, I've got a couple sort of smaller bite-sized things that, again, hopefully you can use. And also, I put sort of on the inside edge, Elijah helped me out with this, there are sheets from Church Health that I put together that have sort of a summary of what these look like. I bet I will figure out a way to post these slides on Whova that I haven't done yet. So I'll do that so that you can see those too. But anyway, hopefully this helps you suss out things that you can sort of do and not and go from there. So board members, especially for smaller organizations, the more use you can get out of your board members, the better. Obviously, we all want to do or get as much out of them. That's a tough one. That's tough, especially as a development director rather than executive director. That's a little bit of a harder ask. But some things that on the one-on-one side, I present them with a LIBUNT list. Everyone knows LIBUNT is last year, but unfortunately not this year, right? The group of donors we're looking to recapture, so to speak. Listen, you could do that in a board meeting, give them all a sheet. If you do, I would do no more than maybe 15 or 20, because there's nothing that's going to make a board member's eyes glaze over faster than a list of names that they maybe don't know. And boy, you think you're silent after you make an ask. Say, who knows somebody on this list? That'll crush you with that silence. So if you're doing it, figure out a way to sort of talk and be as, engaging as you can. Especially new board members. We want every board member to bring 5 potential major donor prospects. Sure, we would love that. Absolutely, that'd be great. It's hard to hold board members to that. But hey, put that out there and see who makes it. A lot of these board members are not coming for their fundraising talents necessarily, right? Some of them, a lot of them, especially smaller organizations, they have the law background, they have the accounting background, they've got some businessy things they're trying to help you with. I'm talking specifically for ones that you're hoping can help you with some of those fundraising efforts. But anyway, yeah, five would be great. Maybe not. An ask dinner, this I've seen work, but it is, I think, more of a Hail Mary. If you're getting towards the end of your sort of fiscal year and you know you're going to be $100,000 short, you have a board member, you say, I need you to host it. What the board member is going to do for their gift is they're going to either cater it or barbecue or do whatever the things are. They're going to invite 10 friends, but they're going to tell those friends that this is to bring their checkbooks. That's a tough ask for those board members. You then are going to show up at that dinner. You're going to do your 10 minutes. You're going to give a patient story. You're going to give them some stats. And you're going to tell them what's happening in the community. You got to make an ask at that moment. You're going to say, I need you to get your checkbooks, and I need for you to write me a $5,000 check right now so that we can continue doing the work that we're doing. Those can work, but those are tough. And then events, right? You're having your gala. Each board member needs to fill a table, right? We hope that this is going to be prospecting, and they're going to give us some new people. Thank you. That's easier. Again, all of these are yes. If you got board members that'll do it, do it. I think it's tough to get every board member to be able to do that, especially those board members that are on the 6th year of their tour and they're trying to invite new friends to the gala that's already a little bit stale. Like those are just tougher asks, but we would love for them to do it. The things that have worked a little bit more for me is to be more specific about who I'm asking my donors about. The local grantors, right? Here's who's making this decision. Do you know any of these 5 people? That's a little bit easier. And it's a call. I'm not doing that at a board meeting. I'm calling to say, do you know these 5 people? I have heard of this new person that's in Germantown, and I have gotten the sense that he's pretty involved in University of Memphis athletics. I got 3 board members that I know are really involved in the University athletics, so I'm going to see, can you connect this? Can you tell them that I'm going to call? Can you introduce us? Like, can you do that type of thing? That's an easier ask than the big live bunt list. The fundraising event that I talked about earlier, that's sort of what I'm talking about here. Just have your friends over. I'm going to come and talk for 5 minutes. I'm not going to make them uncomfortable with an ask or anything, but do that type of thing. I'm going to follow up with your friends, and they know that. But we're not going to do the whole ask at the same time. That's an easier thing, and it's an easier lift for the prospects to be coming to, right? We're going to come and have a drink at Dave's house. It's going to be great. No big deal. Oh yeah, what's his name from Church Health's going to be there, but it'll be fine. Those types of things are easier to sort of make happen. And I need my board members to be educated. This is a way to break up some of those boring board meetings too, where I need them to have some sort of elevator pitch, right? Everybody's going to do their own thing, but make sure they have the elevator pitch. Make sure they can speak to the personal connection they have to the organization. And I want to make sure that they have a general idea of what we're doing. I want them to know the programs that we have going on around what our budget is, around how many patient visits we have every year. The more comfortable they are with that type of thing, the more comfortable they are talking about it in the community. I think often those board members get on the board, they show up for those meetings, or they don't in some cases, but they're not out there sort of advertising, which is what we would love for them to do. So the easier we can make that on them, the better, which to me is, if they know all this stuff about the organization, it's easier to talk about all that stuff about your organization. And this is a sneaky one that I think gets slept on. If a board member is talking about church health and they don't know the answer to a question, I want it to be okay for them to text me and say, hey, I was talking to, this guy, he asked about that and I'm not really sure, so I gave him your number, he's going to be calling. Oh my God, please do that. But let them know that that's okay. Rather than either they have to have the answer, or if they don't and then they're uncomfortable, and then again, then they're not going to be talking about your organization when they're out with their friends, which I'm sure is happening all the time with my board members anyway. So the easier we can make it on them, the better. Please. Perfect, even more than my 2. That's perfect. Perfect. I love that. If you didn't hear, there's a CCHF board book. The name of it, say it again. Fundraising Breakthroughs with the board, so check that out. Absolutely. Good. Okay, I've got, I think, 8 minutes left, according to my friends in the back. So we're going to keep cooking. The donor database. Boy, my staff hates talking about the donor database because I am on it. I care so much about having a clean donor database. So these first, let's see, the one-on-ones, this non-negotiable on your database, you have to be doing all these things. Every single gift receipt's going through that. You have to, or whoever's touching those gift receipts has to have a mastery of making those queries and lists. Could find their way through it. You have to be a master at that is worth the pull, so that I know when I need to pull a list of people who gave $500 for the last 18 months because I want to send them a particular, you got to know that that's a perfect list. So make sure that's all good. You have to be perfect about that. That clean hard data, there are no names misspelled in my database. There are no addresses that are wrong unless they've moved within the last month. And there are no phone numbers that are wrong as soon as we have called them and they're not done. That has to be true. That is non-negotiable. Now, there are ways that we can make that even more useful and more helpful. I talked about this earlier, but automating through thank you emails. If somebody gives an online gift to Church Health, that thank you email is automatically in. You hit send, it's coming right into you. We're not doing that, and then that is entered into the database without manual entry. That's out there for most databases. Again, that's worth the effort, I promise you. There's much communication, as I said earlier. Emails are getting sent. I know which donors have received those emails, and they're in there automatically, no manual entry. I just want to take a breath because I love talking about this so much. I want every one of my people, when they're interacting, I skipped over this last time. If you're interacting with a donor, you see him at church, you see him out in the community, enter it. I get calls from my people all the time. Oh my God, I saw Edna and she was so happy to do this and I get to do this. Like, great, is it in the database? is it? We all could get hit by a truck. We need for this to be in there so that whoever comes in next behind us knows exactly where we are with them and knows where they are. But what I really like are these people, pets, properties, and philanthropic interests. When I am talking to a donor, I want to know who their sons and their daughters and their parents are and who they are talking about. I'm going to enter that. That's different than entering the interaction. That's going to be a separate spot on my data page. But I want to know who their people are so then I can follow up. Oh, hey, how is Johnny? What is he going on? I know you said that he's at Ole Miss. This is great. The pets. I have sympathy cards for people whose pets have passed away that I send, and we have people writing notes and doing the whole thing. I know the names of all my donors' pets. I know exactly around when they are, how old they are, those types of things. Nobody cares more about their pets than they do, and if you care about their pets close to as much, you're in. Their properties, where are their properties? Make sure that you have a sense of that. This is a planned giving hat that I'm putting on because that is possibly where things may be coming for you down the road if you play your cards right, but also I know that Fred Smith went down to Destin last week. Did you see him? I know that he was over there. And then you have things to talk about that are sort of interesting. So figure out where they like going and where their properties are. What other philanthropic interests do they have? Make sure that that's all out there. Because again, I'm not trying to take money away from the Red Cross. I want to know when my folks like the Red Cross so that then we can communicate about that and have something to talk about. Elijah, yes. That's hard. So I have a separate spot in the database where that's all in there. My note-taking strategy is yelling at my people all the time to say, did you put it in? Got it. I'm going to put it in right away. I have somebody who will take their notes. They'll do it every about 2 weeks and then send that to one of the sort of database people, and then they'll put those notes into the specific people. Figure out what works out for you. But yeah, any version of that, or yeah, try to do a chunk, write down when those things happening on your notes app and then do it. How big is your donor pool? You could do even Give Butter even for that. Do you have a database right now? Are you managing it, or do you have a different person managing it? I would go and look through a handful of them and get sort of those. I can't find the word. They'll give you a sort of a fake version of it so that you could see and play around. I would let them drive that train on which one makes the most sense for them. As you get bigger and bigger, I think Razor's Edge continues to be the gold standard. I've had Donor Perfect that. I think the query functionality on that is really good. With 1,000 donors, you probably don't have to go that crazy. But I would look through a handful of like whatever your cost level is, reach out to the salespeople. They'll love to talk to you, and they'll give you a free version so that you can play around with it and see sort of what works out. We're not doing very much in-kind stuff. We do every now and then a little bit, and when we're doing tax statements at the end of the year, we don't value those types of things. But is your question like how to procure those, or like how to do? I would treat it the same way as most major giving. It's just a matter of figuring out that somebody has that thing that you're looking for, the wheelchairs and the stuff. Assets, bigger. That's true. That will take more time for me than in the last 2 minutes. Do you have 2 minutes? Is that where we are? Yeah, stick around at the end. You're right. I'm sorry about that. So yes, that's a planned giving conversation. The way that we do it is if it's a car or a house or land, we use a community foundation to liquidate that, and then they'll take a piece of the pie. We're not capable of handling all those things ourselves. So yeah, in terms of soliciting it, it's the same I would handle as my major gifts, but then there just are additional vehicles that take to sort of make that happen. Sean? We're using AI in some of our communication, which I do view as a part of development, and then we are using AI to help prospect and figure out what the giving level of our current sort of not major donors, but mid-level donors are, but it's sort of hit and miss. We have not fully integrated it yet. I bet in the next year or so, that's probably going to be coming. Yes?
So part of your
of the issues that we're having is the student has a hard time coming up with stories to share to us so that we can turn around and share them with others. Fall under
Yep.
reality and just they're not very good at storytelling. So what suggestions do you have on getting them?
Keep hammering that. Don't let them stop hearing that you need patient stories. I've had some folks fill out a sheet when they're entering, or actually it's when they're leaving, that if like the patient is saying, you can contact me about my story or about my care here. So I've done that, which is okay. I think it's finding the right person in your organization to be able to sort of capture those things, because it is a reframing, right, to the provider. It's they're in and out, and these are what they're presenting with and how we treat it and those types of things. Once you start getting a couple good ones, look at the Church Health website. We have 40 of them. churchhealth.org. You can see what our patient stories look like as sort of an example, and then show that to the people who are interacting with your patient and say, if you hear anything even close to these types of things, this gives you an idea of what that is supposed to look like. That's Lisa. That gives you a start. Okay, good. They're standing. I'm going to put the. This is what you want? Perfect. Thank you. I'll be around a little bit. We have the panel coming up in 15 minutes. So if this was not enough fun for you, come and hear us all talk more about fundraising. Thank you very much.